Get some fucking Chris time, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I don't have enough Chris time in my life. But you know what I do have a lot of?
Wine?
Yes. Less than $2 a bottle. I'll tell you what, they don't fuck around in Hungary.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Like the cheapest one, that's decent too?
No, this is, if the wine is crap, I mix it with soda, and this is good enough I can drink it straight, and I'm like, this is damn tasty.
And it's $2.
Less.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
I hold on, I'll give you the exact amount here. And then I got a question dealing with campaign stuff, but I need to deal with my alcoholism first. $1.64.66.
Oh my! That's the price of a fucking 20-ounce here.
Well, oh, Justin messaged me. How long is soon? When you get off work, get your ass on ASAP. Good. So, the place I'm staying in, I don't know if I mentioned it, it is literally, the Danube River isn't quite a stone's throw, it's like a block away. But I'm basically in a historic, beautiful city, and it's less than it costs in the States for a shitty place.
Nice.
Okay, like how much is it, if you don't mind me asking, and if you don't mind saying on national TV or whatever we're on, how much is the rent where you're staying now?
$700.
$100 more for this.
Okay.
Yeah. That's including all the bills. That includes that's
well, that's just huge. Because like, and are you like, do you have just a room, or is like the whole place?
Here, let me flip the camera around. You can pretty much see everything now. Bed, various things. That hallway looking thing is actually the kitchen. The kitchen's a hallway. There's a bathroom off of it you can't see.
Okay.
And then it's got various crap over here, and then there's a balcony back behind me that I don't want to go out on unless I want to see what the weather's like. So this is okay, but it's not like, woo, God, we're in. Jason asks, did I miss the strip tease? Hey, Jay, it's good to see you, buddy. I wish you could get onto this. If you can, give me a whisper in Facebook. We'll get you on. Unfortunately, yes, you did miss the strip tease. Chris and I both did it. But okay, Chris, let me get your opinion. I'm going to ask for good and bad here. What is the thing that you like most about the campaign currently? I'm not looking for smoke blowing up my ass, but rather how to continue making it better or whatever. Because I'm going to go best, worst. And I'm going to eat some chocolate shit.
Mini brownies.
They don't put frosting on them here, which is depressing.
I see. It's actually kind of a little bit of both, because the thing it's tiny too. That's not an American brownie, you can tell.
Right. I eat like a couple of them at a time type thing. Yeah. It's
Although you know what though, now even the frosted ones are about that size, because because then they have more in a box, or actually I think they have the same amount, but it just costs more now.
Yeah.
That's their eat a dick, or eat a big lump of shit, you know, because put it in, it comes out the same way. Woo! It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Like it's both. Like this is for both, because we have so many players. We have tons of players, which is a bad thing, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing because you get like different opinions on what's going on. You get more input, especially if you read the boards. Like I am not a notorious one for reading the boards, but I usually catch up every couple weeks. I'll check it out, catch up, and then I'm good. I don't post a lot because I'm just, especially now, I'm in my completely ridiculous, like Amazon, and it's like I'm like my brain is mush half the time.
If you'd like to support Chris, order a lot of random shit from Amazon and return it. Makes him happy. Go on.
Well, I don't do that anymore, so I don't sling boxes, so I could give a shit. Order all the crap you want.
That.
And at the same time, because you have so many other people there, or in the thing, like you just said, like information gets lost in the cracks, and some people will have the good information and have no idea, and then they don't share that information. And some people don't even care. So then if you say all this good information, some people then they don't take notes, and just like,
I love that though.
We want to go make cinnamon the best thing in the world and sell it to people.
One of the things though that when I was like years ago that I always wanted to do is have a world that felt like shit was happening whether the PCs were involved or not. Okay? I'd love to have I always thought it would be cool to have like groups of NPCs running around doing shit, because that would also give the players a little bit of a push. Like, we don't go conquer this dungeon soon, the Falcons will go out and do it. We've got to get to it. No, we're getting like a something else going on type thing. I was never able to pull it off because, well, okay, I tried it in one of the games, and it was in back in the bad old days of Rollmaster. Okay. And in Rollmaster, if you roll certain kinds of crits and then you roll a percentage for that crit, and just horrible, is Chartmaster is what we called it.
Okay.
You could essentially be a 0 level nobody and knock out a 5th level character or 10th level or 100th level character. You just kill his ass if you rolled a very specific crit range, right? Like I remember 2 5th level PCs crept into some house, and they were good, and the old people who lived there were like, they're gonna burgle us. And the old guys loading the fucking long ass crossbow and shit. And the PCs took them out. They're like, yeah, die. And then they go to the old lady, and she's washing dishes, and she goes, and she's like, oh, thieves, and turns around, had a knife, rolled a crit, killed the dude, just. And she looked at the other guy like, and he's like, I jump out the window. I was like, you're on the 4th floor. He's like, fuck it, it's better, you know. Because that dude's dead. His buddy, gone. So anyway, I decided to make an NPC group that I wanted to be like wildly more powerful than the PCs. So I made them just double level, right? Bad old days of level-based games and stuff. And the PCs were all 5th. I made them 10th. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to have like this kind of camaraderie, rivalry, like frenemy thing, you know, where it's like, yeah, we're off doing shit. And I was even going to have like a dungeon that I actually didn't develop and have some talk about it. And when the PCs go there, these guys have already looted, and they're going out going, better luck next time. And they just wander around this empty dungeon going, this sucks. You know, and that way eventually the PCs, it didn't work out that way. What happened was the PCs were like, they found out about these guys and they're like, let's ambush them. I was like, pardon me? And they did, and they fucking killed them all. And then they took all their magic shit, and they were like, yeah, they're rubbing their magic shit on them. And I was like, what the fuck happened? I mean, the PCs were like, and they're rolling like the 66, which is one of the magic crit numbers. And I was like, shooting people through the fucking eye and stuff. I was like, you know, but in this game, because there's a lot of different groups of PCs, and often they seem to unintentionally work at cross purposes. This makes the world like for example, if Matt only plays once every week or two or whatever, he's like, there's so much is happening. I love that. Right there. It's like, when somebody goes, oh, Jesus, I can't keep up with all that's happening. This is a lot like a real life, very active world. So it's giving me that impression that if you're not doing shit, that's okay, but whoa, shit's happened. Imagine if you didn't play for a month and you came back and you're like, so what's going on?
Right. And which is why half the time I just kind of go with what they're up to. But at the same time, I like to, you guys can't forget about the big stuff, yo.
You're a problem solver, though. You're a high-level problem solver, which you're playing a very different game than a lot of people like Jay, who's currently watching, as far as I know. He's working on doing the low-level stuff that should have been done 3 seasons ago that the players didn't take care of.
But see, that's still good, though. It's kind of like
it's brilliant. I'm baffled nobody took care of it.
Right. So like it's like we've continued forward, and we're looking back at whatever, which will become detrimental. I'm sure it'll be like a cavity. Like we're like, oh well, everything else is fine. We don't fucking hi, and then but to backfill for us, so that way we don't need to worry about that stuff biting us in the asses hard later. That's huge. That's fucking huge.
I just thought of something. I'm going to actually publish the thing to get involved in this. If it's still going on. If you're watching this afterward, then, can't help you. Yeah, I understand. But for anybody who's watching this live, which is only Jay right now, shit, my plan is not working. So anyway. Yeah, enjoy your listening, Jay, you evil bastard. No, but Jay is working on setting up. I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, his goal is setting up the basics in every zone. Like he's essentially working on making it so that the players aren't rich in every zone, but they don't have to worry about very basic amounts of money, if nothing else. It's like, I got enough money to get some basic gear in this zone. I'm not fucked. Whereas the PCs right now, okay, the Shermer effect where you pop into people's bodies in the Shermer type zone. It's happened a lot. Everybody knows about it. I call it the Shermer effect. Everybody knows about it. It's happened tons of times. Everybody's played at least 2 or 3 mods from that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has said, we're not doing a Shermer thing. Let's go somewhere and set up something so I can leave some trump cards. So if I feel like leaving early, because I'd ask Logan. I'd be like, hey, Logan, if we're in Shermer and we're doing a mod, but we think we have something more important to do you care if we duck out of it? I'd be like, no. You got some other shit you want to do? I don't care. Nobody's come up with that. They're like, nope, we're on a mod. We're going to keep on a mod. There's nothing else we can do other than finish this mod, whether we want to or not. I'm like, they're like, why don't we have any money, resources, or anything like that? I'm like, because you're dumb. You haven't set it up. I mean, Jesus Christ. I think that I've done my best to bring a living, breathing world to the players. And it's like, if you rent a storage space in Shermer, I'm not figuring out where it is on the map. And what's the neighborhood like? I don't care about that. It's like there's places on Roll20 where people can type it up and they can leave shit in there and they put things in there and they could do whatever. And then if they go to that place, those resources for anybody who goes there, they're because all the players know where that place is. And they go there and they go, I need some grenades, and their players left grenades there. I now have grenades, as opposed to now where they go, I don't have grenades. I'm fucked. We're all going to die. And like, it's because you're dumb. I have no after more than a season or two of getting to find out stuff and know stuff and all that, no sympathy. It's like, if you fuck yourself, you fuck yourself. I'm not going to cry about it.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, and a lot of people have been fucking themselves.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I can't believe some of the crazy. Like they're just digging. They're on a backhoe. They're in this hole. And they don't understand why the hole gets deeper and darker, and it just keeps getting worse. And then you toss a rope down to them, and they want to pull you in. They don't want to come out. I'm like, man, no.
But see, that's also the kind of campaign that I like, because in a lot of campaigns, it's kind of like the No Child Left Behind policy. Remember that? Mm-hmm. No Child Left Behind presidential thing. I like the policy where I'm not saying that, in real life, people don't have different learning things and all that. But in this campaign, I like it that if you're smart, you get rewarded. If you're punished, or if you're stupid, you get punished without mercy.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen this happen. You know what I'm talking about.
Definitely.
You watch people who are just like, yeah, I may as well just bash my head against a brick wall because it's better. Mm-hmm. If you're watching this and want to get involved, here's the StreamYard thing where Chris and I are sitting around talking. Or if you have a topic you'd like to hear Chris or I or both talk about, let us know in the comments section, because we're desperate for fucking people to love us. I'm so desperate.
Fucking crazy.
Yes. So, well, that's what like a bottle and a half of wine does to you. It's good
yeah,
shit.
very, very true, very true.
Mm-hmm. But okay, so you're saying that the number of players in the campaign is your favorite and most hated thing of the campaign?
Oh yeah. I mean, I like it because, it's how many times can you I can't say that about any other campaign I've ever been in.
That it had like a dozen people and stuff?
Oh yeah. Well, if it did, it was awful, because like then you got a dozen people sitting around a table, which you might as well just like leave the table, because or get your 30 minutes in, and then come back to roll for combat later on.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go have a cookie, and I'll come back for combat when you guys need me.
Yes.
And you know what? That almost did happen a couple times at when we were at Al's house. Remember when we had like 8 people in there?
Yes. Okay. Hey, Philbrig has a question for you, and I assume. What's the worst RPG system that you've played, Chris?
Worst RPG.
Go Philbrig. For those who don't know, Philbrig records a bunch of cool books and stuff like that. Look them up online.
Like D&D.
Why?
And I mean like original D&D with like THAC0, and just like you need to have like, because like if you want to do this, you need to be this. Like if you're an elf, you get the pluses and minuses. So everyone's running around as a fucking elf, because they get all the perks.
Biggest pluses, right?
Right. So why not be an elf? And then you give so now you have a whole elven party, but now you want to act. Half the party wants to act evil, and then like I get it by GM though too, because I remember a GM that like Ralph and Jeff used to go to all the time. Like I remember like I came to play a couple times, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" I'd be like, "Oh, you said hell," and they'd like roll to see if like a gate of hell like opened up. I'm like, "Are you fucking serious? That's a thing. I'm so powerful."
You said fucking. Here comes the anal intruder.
Right? And I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
And like it just there's like, and then you try to role play, and it's like save versus death.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't make it, you die.
Well,
I got better things to do.
Right.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I think after playing a lot, I'm not sure who it was. It may have been you, may have been somebody else. This is back in the old days, when the warehouse theory got brought up. This is like answering Felbrig's question of what's the worst game thing. The warehouse thing. And the players had rightly complained. They're like, Logan, when we get higher level, we're just facing higher level people, and so what's the fucking point? And I thought about that, and I was like, that's right. And that goes back to what I call the warehouse problem. Like if the players are low level, like let's say it's a modern day game, it doesn't have to be D&D. It could be D&D, it could be fantasy, whatever. But if they're low level, they're breaking into a warehouse. It's guarded by rent-a-cops. Okay. If they're medium level, the rent-a-cops are now led by a Vietnam vet. He may still have flashbacks, drill sergeant, whatever. And if they're high level, the warehouse is guarded by ninja. And it's like, what's the fucking point? And I've had so many GMs go, I know that they have the rating thing for the enemies and stuff, but in my campaign, you can literally run into anything. And I'm like, I'm calling bullshit on that, because if you're third level guys and you run into like a 20 challenge rating dragon that comes by and eats a couple of PCs and shit, rather than it just being a warning, like you see a scary dragon that you're not meant to interact with, because if you do, you'll feel a fear effect, you get eaten, all that shit. It's bullshit, and everybody knows it. It always comes down to you face foes that are just a little weaker. So it's like if Chris and I are playing chess and I'm the PCs and Chris gets 4 less chess pieces and no queen. And Chris could win, but it's fucking unlikely.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And so that's why I really hate level-based games. In this system, there's like three of the PCs in my game have got really good combat stuff. Like Chris is one of them, Matt, and who's the other one? One more, Chris. Who else is the combat monkey?
Actually, Pete is rather now. He's become.
I'd say he's in the highly competent, but if he faces off against 2 or 3 people, he might be toast if they're like. Do it as a living. There's one other person, I can't remember who, that's really good at combat.
Matt,
you, somebody else. Pete used to be good at shit, but he had really bad stuff happen to him. Anyway, so there's only 3, but generally in this game, like if you're a normal character, like Bargain Man's played like a dozen times or whatever, he's facing off against 2 dudes, like armed with pistols and stuff, he's probably fucked.
It's pretty dicey.
It's definitely dicey. So that means that if Bargain Man, like John, isn't thinking hard or coming up with clever things or cover or traps or something cool like that, he's gonna die, or he's gonna spend all his hero points and then die on the next minor encounter or something.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I like about this game. Whereas in D&D, it's like you've got this huge. Philbrick says he hates Traveler system because it doesn't have leveling up, or he likes it. A lot of people like the Traveler system. I actually have played Traveler a few times, and I've never been in a game that lasted more than a couple of sessions in Traveler, and B, because the character generation is kind of like a choose your own adventure, where if you're lucky, you get the cool character, and if you're not, fuck you, then you get the guy who barely graduated the equivalent of college, and you're really young. Like when it was me and a group of about 4 or 5 people, and we were all doing the random character generation, which is the whole first session, Chris. Your whole first session is sitting around rolling dice and going, I want to try to re-up in the Marines or whatever, and rolling more dice and stuff. Yeah. And so what happened was at the end of the session, I was like the raw recruit. I was like 20 years old and stuff. And there's this one dude who had just rolled phenomenally. He's like 80, and he had every friggin' skill. He was doing the fucking Dotson skiing where he keeps his legs together and ski. the best I could do is get on the ski machine, and then a printer started going. I was like, "What's that?" And it's printing out the medical bill that I'd had if I'd actually skied. And I was like, "Jesus Christ, this is expensive." And I was like, "Yeah, it was ugly." So
yeah. But I mean, also, I guess it depends on your GM. Like if you have a GM that can roll with the system, that completely makes it different, though, too.
Yes.
Unless because look, we're high level. Like I just think of the warehouse district in most places. Like it's like, we're gonna go raid this one. Yeah, someone comes up. Excuse me, sir. This is the 1st through 5th level dungeon warehouse. Sorry. The one you're looking for is right down there. Like take two warehouses. Two warehouses north and one south or east, and then you're good. Okay, that's the one you want. Look for look. If you don't see guards, that means they're ninjas, and you're in the right place. Good luck.
That would be that. I would actually dig that encounter. I'd be behind that encounter. But yeah, it's. I don't know. Plus, a lot of people who play D&D and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of things like I prefer 50% combat or 25% combat or 75% combat. And when you look at the game, they've got the elaborate miniatures and the map, and they've spent fucking hours or decades painting these miniatures. And, that's good for them. I'm not saying you're not doing it right. I think people who play by post are not doing it right, but still, I understand. But it's not what I am into at all. I've done wargaming. I didn't like it. I found it is. I'd rather learn to cook a really good loaf of bread because I get to eat the bread afterward than doing wargaming because I just feel bitter afterward.
I don't know. It depends on I've had fun playing some of those games where it is combat, and if you like that strategy, that's great. But don't call it a role playing game, please. If there's no role play in that game.
But see, for a lot of people, even the minimal amount of role play is role play. Like I call my war cry and move 2 forward, and then I can use my next thing for moving a half this way, and I get an attack of opportunity. This is role play to some people, which, it's like, yeah, okay.
I get it to an extent. It gives a little bit of flavor now and then, but if you do it all the time, it's just kind of like, well, you're doing it because you want to get the plus, and that's the only reason. Because we actually, Seth did something like that, where if you said the attack that you're doing, you called upon your weapon, whatever name it had, help me slay whoever I'm attacking, and I didn't do it, and I remember he's like, why don't you you don't have pluses? I was like, no, I got my +1 and I stopped recording them. I'm like, why? He's like, well, because I'm a thief and I want to be quiet. So why would I do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I like Seth. I really do, but him and I run, I suspect, an extremely different game.
Well, at Nero, he's completely different. But I think he's playing the D&D system with that D&D type stigma to it as well, but he's bringing as much role play to it as his players will allow, and even some of the role play he's looking for he doesn't get from some of those hardcore D&Ders, because that's what they're looking for. D&D is usually, I'd say, about 60 to 70% combat, 30% role play and interaction.
Okay. I mean, if you're rolling random encounters and stuff, like the way I do random encounters, I don't know if you know this or not, is I'll grab various random encounters, and I'm not talking D3 bugbears or shit. I don't non-combat encounters, because combat I can figure out on my own. That's easy, because there's a lot of people that hate the PCs. But I will grab just a bunch of stuff, and then I'll tune it to the zone that it's in. And I'll come up with 50 or 100 different random encounters, and I'll have that stuff going on. And the purpose of the random encounters is more like to paint a picture of the zone.
Sure.
Like, for example, in one zone, I had some kids playing kickball with a robot's head. Why? I wanted to show that people don't like robots. You know, they've been taught to be prejudiced by their parents or whatever. But in a lot of games, it's like you pretty much have to fight your way. If you think about it, 3 or 4 times a day, you're in a life or death struggle to go a day's travel. Can you imagine if you fought that much in real life? That's on crack. I just say you live
in my village, whatever.
Nobody cares. But no, it's. I think that one of the weird, hard things in my campaign is training people out of D&D. Have you noticed any examples of that from players and stuff, new players?
I don't know. A lot of our players, they play once. Usually, if they're a D&D, like a hardcore, like that kind of role player, they don't stick around long. Because they know that we role play, and if usually, like our mantra is, if you're in combat, 90% of the time you're doing it wrong, or you went there to initiate that combat, which we do sometimes, but not all the time.
Very rarely. Well, it makes no sense. Like one of the big things that I try to promote in the system and in my game in general is lateral thinking. And a lot of people don't even know the meaning of lateral thinking, much less how to do it, because it's tricky. And like, for example, if somebody Conan something like, oh, this is, boop-a-doo, I can kill him because I have more pluses and stuff. You're basically going Conaning, you're wasting resources and stuff like that. And, there's Felbrig. D&D, the player mindset is rules, and the 5-foot step.
Oh, yes. My God, yeah.
Yes. I agree with you, Felbrig. Wish you'd come onto our show. But
which is one thing I like about, like, because sometimes I'll, like, with a lot of the skills I have, there are set parameters, like this is what the skill does, this is what the skill does. And then, like, when we were in, like, the last zone we were in that space, the Spaceys type zone.
Gary?
Where Trumps didn't work very well. I was like everybody else is like, just Trumps don't work well. And I'm like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that, which is why I started pressing against that. Like, I'd started using randoms. Like, well, if I use this skill, like, because it sounds like that would work. Like, I know sometimes it won't work. Hey, why not ask? Like in D&D, you can't ask because this skill does this and this only.
Oh, some of the people, not all the people, some of the people play D&D. If you're going off script, off book, off rules, they will lose their minds.
Yeah, which makes what? Aren't you supposed to think outside the box? Like, I understand that sneaking makes it so you go X amount slower and at this thing, but what happens if I just want to sneak because I want to do, like, I'm in public and I'm walking? I don't want to turn invisible. I just want to, like, blend in with the crowd. So isn't that a form of sneak? No, it makes you, no, it's not the same thing. I'm like, but isn't it though? No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you give me another, like, maybe like make me sneaky and then like use my charisma for it then instead as a bonus instead of my dex? So I don't know. It all really depends on what you're looking for.
Can you see the comment that I put up? When I put up comments, can you see them, Chris?
Yeah. Lateral thinking is something I've tried to be more conscious of. And what are some examples of lateral thinking you've seen and liked? And what are some that you'd like to see?
That's from Jay, by the way. Anybody who's unable to read for some reason. How'd you get on the internet if you can't read?
I know one way that happened recently that kind of, like, Logan was like, oh my God, was like the mod where we shifted to the other side, like went to the other side. like, and there was all this combat that we had to do. Well, instead, like, we just wired the place and blew it up when the bad guy was there.
Yeah.
Because there would have been no way. And yeah, granted, that's a combat thing. But at the same time, there was like no way the three of us were going to be able to do that by ourselves without just loads and loads and loads of needing strategic combats and whatnot. It would have just not happened. It's not like we're going to walk in with miniguns and, spray and pray. And then even when he got shipped to the hospital, we just we did it again. But like,
could you detail that a bit, because I don't think that anybody knows what you're talking about with the hospital and stuff. Go ahead and give them a little story here.
Well, so like the scenario was that we went, like, it was in a warehouse and there was like all these separate rooms, and it was like a party, and it was like a big like cult ritualistic type thing. And he had all of these he had all these people, like all these guards, and like everybody idolized him. So even if we did break into combat with him, not only are his bodyguards, which he had like a couple carfuls with him, like I think it was like 10, and there's only 3 of us, and 2 of us are like combat people that have good combat, and the other one's like meh. But so what are we gonna do? And then we can't see them, and they can get out and they can sneak away, and we're in this alternate reality type thing, which was hard to get into. So why would we do combat when, like, I know, I'm good with explosives, so we lined the place. We knew when he was going to come in, and we set remote detonators, and he barely made it out. It was like one of those, like, the rolls were with him. The fucking dice. Fuck you, dice. And so he got taken to the hospital. We knew, like, there was only one hospital in the area, so, like, I think I, like, posed as a maintenance man, and I was like fixing the light below him, and planted another explosive underneath where his bed was, where he was in the ICU. Boom, and it was like, and I critted that roll and instead destroyed the hospital because the doc don't give a fuck. And then,
yeah, Jay brought up when he was in Shermer mode, taking stuff from the police station. That's good. I think it was Chris here that, let's see, what was it called? It was, or was it Chris? I don't know. There was it was a normal CSI type thing. Or no, it was Ralph. Sorry, it was Ralph. Okay, they figured out that some girl had done the murder. This was the scaphism, where they, between the 2 boats.
Okay.
Scaphism. Yeah, if you don't know what scaphism is, you're probably happier not knowing it. Anyway, Ralph had figured out that it was this girl that did it, and he was like, yeah. And the PCs had messed up the investigation. They couldn't get enough information, and Ralph was like, "You're free to go, miss. Go ahead and just leave. You're free to go." And she did. And the RPCs were like, "What? We didn't have the right stuff. We couldn't figure out." He's like, "I'm going to use her later." I was like, wow, that's a better ending than fucking putting her in jail. Yeah, great, because she was good enough to pull this off and baffle the PCs. And he's like, she's going to become a new contact of mine. I've got some blackmail material on her. And, if I need a body to disappear or something, or I need somebody tortured for a couple of weeks or whatever, she's my girl. And I was like, damn, that's cold. It's messed up. I love it. That's a good example of lateral thinking. As far as taking stuff from the police station, yes. One of the things that like I would do in the Shermer thing, assuming I'd been there a couple of times and I was familiar with it. I'm not holding anything against brand new players who are like, oh, what's going on? No. But the people who've been around for a while, I might do something like figure out how to get out, even if it meant like leaving my host body. For those unfamiliar with the Shermer effect, basically the PCs are almost possessing people. They haven't figured out why. They don't know how it happens or why it happens or anything like that. There's reasons behind all of it. But if all the PCs unpossess the people by like walking through shadow or shifting dimensions, called shifting dimensions, then they're all out of it and they're probably off of the mission and stuff. But they have ways of like getting one person out and like, or to go get gear, or if they're smarter, to already have gear planted where they can easily get to it in the bodies and stuff and doing things. Or like they've been very cool about like not screwing the people they're in. Like, yes, I am Troy McClure. I wish to drain my bank account now. Thank you for all of the money. Yes, I will go off with this, and then put it in their storage shed and then fuck the person when they come back to their own body. It's like, you drained your bank accounts. Well, I'm destitute now. Hooray. You know, the PCs haven't been doing that, which is very nice of them. But I think that if they had, for example, let's say they had obtained high tech explosives in one area, put in the storage shed in the Shermer area. So if they're possessing a body and it's like, oh, we need these explosives, for example, then they have them, rather than we're just here with what we have. We have to do it with what we have. If you're dealing with a lot of dimensions, why not have it skewed in your favor? Recently, Jason brought up something clever. He's like, I want to get a bunch of shit made that's high tech, but looks like it's low tech. I'm like, yes, I've been waiting for somebody for many seasons to do that. Jason's the first person to go, I think I'm going to get that done. I'm like, oh, thank God somebody's thinking about that. I mean, like if you're in the land of flintlocks and people freak out if you use something that's not a flintlock, but your flintlock happens to go, well, fuck them. They'll get a bullet up the nose before they realize, oh, he seems to be firing more than once every 30 seconds.
Very true.
Mm-hmm. So those are some examples of lateral thinking. And I realize it's harder to do when you're in the shit. I totally get that. But like as another example, when I was in Matt's campaign, we were doing a 1925 type thing, and we're standing on the door, the porch, and that's where we spawned, so to speak. And I was like, I begin to cast a spell. And Matt was like, kind of, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, this spell is going to either happen or somebody's going to shake me like a British nanny shakes a baby to get it stopped. There's no other option. And the butler was looking at me, and I'm simple actioning in, going, blah, 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 I'm casting a spell. And the butler's like, whatever. It was my healing all day D8 spell. Because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know when I'd have 1 minute to do it later. So it's like, this is priority. I don't care about if somebody knocked on the door or what's going to happen next. I'm the healer of the group. I'm going to get the spell off.
Sure.
You know, so. Anybody else have any questions? Felbrig, you got something else? Type, Felbrig, type. Type like the wind. He's a good guy. I wish we could drag his ass into the campaign, see what he's like. Even if he was to wear one of those anonymous masks, if you're comfortable doing that, you could be, if you get one of those anonymous masks from, what was that movie that they had that, where it was like, remember
V for Vendetta?
That's it. Yeah, get a V for Vendetta mask. We'd be happy to have you game in that. It'd be suitably creepy.
So like what you're talking about, like when you're playing, your mind becomes completely different. That's like remember we used to talk about that at Nero all the time, the Nero effect, when you're PCing versus when you're running and you're thinking of everything. You start PCing, then you're just like flopping around, like you instantly lose like 20 to 40 IQ points. It's like, wow, and like, it's ridiculous how often that happens.
Well,
go ahead.
Here we are. What are your thoughts on PV? Or here, let me pop this up for you. Chris, what are your thoughts on PvP, violent, non-violent?
I think since I got fucksered the hardest on that.
How do you mean? Could you give an example?
Sure.
He doesn't sound happy, Jay.
You were driving a TJ Monster home one night, and TJ was very upset that I was driving the campaign and that Novu was getting to do whatever the hell he wanted. And El Slapinard told the other Indians in the village that I was magical and that I should be murdered. So you dropped him off, came back, and said the entire village is now attacking you. What do you do?
You tried to fly away while they were shooting arrows. I remember that.
So, like flying, running, whatever. I had a whole village after me. It wouldn't have mattered. Like I would have died eventually.
Did I just hear a fucking lightsaber go off somewhere? Did you just make a fucking lightsaber go off? No lightsabers.
But yeah, so, and I remember the problem with that, like, if instead of just saying, hey, like, he wanted to do some other stuff, or, you know, so that killed me. TJ didn't play that often. And now the campaign was totally derailed because I was like the one problem solver that was always playing, and everybody else was just kind of flavor text at that point, and they were happy with that. Like supporting cast, they were fine. But, yeah. And on to the next campaign is I think what ended up happening after a bit.
Totally. To give my thoughts on PvP, Jay did a follow-up question at what point could nonviolent PvP become an issue? I think somebody who's good at PvP in this campaign, this may sound a bit weird, it's Yana. Yana is good at PvP because I won't allow direct PvP beyond the slapping around stage, because if you kill somebody else's character, like in Nero, for example, the LARP, you're not going to be friends with that person out of game if they kill your ass. It's just how it goes. Focus, Chris.
It's a work text. I have to answer it right quick.
Okay. So TJ does have that tendency sometimes. I agree. But if the PCs are doing if they're doing violent PvP, I'm against that. However, non-violent PvP can take a lot of forms. For example, the PCs during the campaign had what's it called? The PCs owned a mansion. I'll get to Felbury's question in just a sec. PCs had a mansion, and Yana would literally capture and skin human beings and leave their corpses in the basement for the other PCs to find. And then I think she would leave like a bloody spear in one of the characters' rooms. I don't remember which character, but that was just her saying, fuck you. And I'm not sure why she would do that, but other than her character's psychotic. But I think if it's funny and it doesn't directly hurt the other PC, I mean, they're nervous about it. They'd be like sitting there scrubbing the floor in the basement and bitching about it as they're cleaning up these corpses and stuff. And then they would go back in the basement and they'd find that she'd bought like 7 of those giant freezers and stuff that, family freezer size. And they would become worried about what would happen then. And I don't think she actually did anything with it, but it's funny. So I think if it's funny and it's not violent toward the RPCs and it kind of fucks them, but doesn't totally fuck them. Like if you get somebody thrown in prison, that's going a bit too much. But I think if you gently fuck with the other person, like you go, for example, buy a bunch of pig's brains from the butcher and leave them under their pillow as a way of saying, yeah, fuck you. Because imagine that in real life. You go to bed, what? And then you look under it, that's fucking funny. And it's not directly fucking you hard.
True.
You got anything to add to that, Chris?
I think, well, for the most part, we don't have a lot of nonviolent, except for when it when a lot of the things that we have going on derails what we're trying to do.
Well, the PCs, I don't think they're actually realizing that they're fucking the other people's plans. I think they're just like, I'm doing this, and they, like for example, if Chris is building a railroad track, and they're like, I'm going to build a road. There's a railroad track in the way. I don't know whose this is. Blow it up and make the road.
Which once again goes back to it's good and bad having this many people up in the Kool-Aid.
Let's go to Felbrig's next question. Have you got the impression anyone you play with is cheating the dice, and do you give a damn? What you got there, Chris?
Was his name Randy or?
Oh, that's a story. Go ahead and tell him the Yaqui Indian sorcerer story, Chris. Oh, that dude was a weird dude.
Like I liked him. He was a good guy, as far as gaming and whatnot.
Friendly.
But
he
weird. Was notorious. I always remember he would have his dice and he'd just be like, "All right, I got my dice." I was like, "Oh, yep, that was a crit."
Yeah, doing the roll snatch.
Yeah, it was like he was playing. It was like he was playing jacks. I'm like, whoa, like. And I remember that's when you instituted the rule. If you roll, like when you roll and it's a crit, you have to be like, Logan, look, and you have to show the crit first before you pick it up and roll again. It was a different system where you re-rolled 10s and 20s, and he'd just be like, "Oh, yep, that was a 10." Oh,
he'd pick it up and show it to me like, this is a 10. Yeah,
there it is. Like, what?
Yeah.
And then he started using clear dice.
Right.
So you couldn't couldn't see it.
Fucking Jay, man, you are on it. Four-fingered Randy, yeah. Yeah. Okay, as far as now though, Felbrig, we're on Roll20 and shit. Now, yes, people could alter their skills and stuff, but I think they know that if I suspect them or I think it's happening, they're done. They're done. Honestly, the rolling part is not the hard part of this campaign. If you make every roll, fail every roll, shit. Freddy's a good example. That dude has like in the 70s to 80s for a lot of his skills. Fucker can't make a roll to save his life sometimes. He's rolling in the 90s because Roll20 hates his ass. I don't know what he did to offend Roll20, but Roll20 hates his ass. Sometimes he rolls good, but usually he's just getting fucked by Roll20. And with the way we've got set up, it shows what your skill is and what your roll is, because you're just pushing the dice. But honestly, if I think somebody's cheating, like in the old days when I was gaming face to face, the problem is you've got very limited options for a number of players. If you start getting rid of all the kind of questionable or shit people, you're down to 2 or 3 people really quick. But in this, where it's like, I'm drawing players from literally 3 different continents. If somebody wants to cheat, and if I ever find out, they're just gone. I'll just replace them. It's not a big deal. I'll be a little sad. I'll be angry with them, but even when I was playing face-to-face, the people that would cheat, it's like, okay, Chris, you do your thing, cool. Jay, you do your thing, cool. Randy, the universe takes a giant shit on your head. What do you want to do? Cool. You tried to do that, but you end up just floundering in the shit because nobody loves you. Nobody has any respect for a cheater. And then I go on. And it's pretty much just, the universe shits on the people who you are cheating constantly. Does that answer your question? Yeah. All right. We have had some wild fucking players over the years, I swear. You know what kills me though, Chris, is a lot of the people I've been working on recruiting, because first off, you always have to try to do the, you know, are you good with an online game, or are you only looking for D&D? Because most people are like, I want face-to-face D&D in whatever podunk town I happen to live in. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to happen. Maybe you get a paid game if you're lucky. I like the paid games because I think that, like, if somebody's a decent, not even a good, decent GM in 5e or whatever, they should start a paid game. You know, I've seen people going like $10 per player per session and stuff, and people are paying it because they're desperate to play 5e. But what kills me is the people are like, I haven't gotten a game in years because nobody's living here. I've got a game. It's not D&D enough. I want D&D. It's like, fuck you then. Just sit around and not play for a couple more years and get back to me then. See how you feel about it.
Right.
Yeah. It shouldn't be as hard to recruit players as it is.
Even back, like, it's always, like, seems been hard.
Mm-hmm.
Or you find just, like, you tap the well of, like, some crazy, like, people, and you're like, oh, my God.
You remember the husband-wife team where the husband was like, hey, I'm really cool, I'm into it, and the wife was like, I want to be this raven sorcerer and have the raven feathers in my hair because in the system you're not using it would give me bonuses. You remember them? And
I think so.
You got is the one where you became vampires and like the children were getting crushed and you're like, you know, and all that.
That's when I was the man on the moon. I was playing the doc. Even that was when I was playing the doc. Became an 18-year-old kid, and I was playing the man in the moon. And they were like, "Who the fuck? Why is this kid your leader? I don't understand."
Oh no, you were like 14 or 15. You were riding around on a
Oh, that's right. I
skateboard.
was on a skateboard doing. It was in Cyberpunk, and they were like, "Why are you listening to this kid?" And they're all like, "Because that's the doc." And they're just like, "The doc."
But it was hilarious. Is the problem with face-to-face games is that you get Dritz with the Panther. You know, the problem you get with the face-to-face gamers, in my experience, is that a lot of times, not always, a lot of times, you get like the really cool gamer that you would love to spend more time with, but his ride is the fucking kill everybody, you know, and just the guy that you would like to spend less time with.
That happened a bunch too.
And if you get rid of the guy, then you lose the good guy. Or the biggest problem is the bigger, better deal crowd, where it's like, you know, I like the game, but I have a 3% chance of getting laid if I go to this bar and spend a bunch of money and sit around and shit. And I'm like, you're not gonna get laid. 3%. Okay.
Well, you got players like Captain Kirk.
Oh, that's a fucking story. You want to tell that story?
The only thing I really remember is just how often, like, he kept being over the top. I think we kind of caught him cheating a little bit, and we like kind of warned him on that. And he kept trying to derail the entire campaign. And
hold on, I got some backfill to this.
Oh, go, please, because I think I've deleted a lot of him. Honestly,
I understand that. It all started at Games Plus in Illinois, great gaming store, and they had a gaming auction that I went to, not because I needed anything or was even selling anything, but because I wanted to meet some other gamers and maybe find some more gamers for my campaign. And I met up with this guy, I think his name was John, really very phlegmatic, mellow dude. And he's like, yeah, I got a game. You come on over. So I go over there, and that's where I met Matt. Matt was over there gaming. And he was writing the very typical, like, I have painted a new mini, and you get to fight it. Yay. And the Captain Kirk guy was there also. And so I was like, yeah, that's lame as shit. Jesus, we've spent an entire session. We've gotten 3 rooms done. I could literally do this game on my own with a random monster generator and some fucking markers for minis and shit, right? And so I recruited Matt, and I was like, that's cool. Why don't you come and do this? And Matt's like, this guy seems like kind of a dick. True. And but he went to the game, and he's like, this is fucking my head. Oh, Jesus, this is what gaming is? Oh, and where's the minis? No minis. Okay. And then eventually the Captain Kirk guy came. And the Captain Kirk guy was he was trying to assimilate, but he was not pulling it off. So yeah, I wove his and your character backgrounds together, but not in a complimentary way.
Well, and then also he tried to when his father ended up being someone that I'd murdered in the past, that was a bad thing.
It worked for his character background, though.
Oh, it totally did. And I still remember the day that happened. And then it was cool at first because it was like this kind of like interplay between us, and we both role played it very well. And I was totally into that until he just started getting like belligerent and kind of angry about it. Like he really did now.
Yes.
Not the character, he did. And like he kept trying to assert control over where we were going in the campaign. And it was always on like this weird tangent. And I was always kind of like, no, why would we do that? And I remember eventually he was like, I remember he confronted me. He's like, did you kill my father? And I was like, yes. And what are you going to do about it?
Well, the funny thing is that it was D&Dism where I think he ended up killing some people with a shotgun or whatever, and all the players were just putting their hands up, and then the cops came in.
Oh, yeah, and
And then the PCs testified against him at court.
Oh, yeah.
And he was fucking livid because he was thinking, we're going to kill all the cops and get their shit and go sell it. And I was like, this is not fucking D&D.
Yeah, because he was just started blazing on innocent people too.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just kind of like, trying to be like semi Men in Black here on the side,
Mm-hmm.
And this is way too much heat for us. And I remember because that's when we actually still had some government ties, and we're just kind of like,
Right. And I remember him storming out saying, just let me know when my character gets out of prison. And I'm thinking, I think you're done. You're definitely not meshing well with the group. You're one to play D&D in modern days because if you think about D&D doesn't work well for modern days. Like a sword does D8, you got 60 hit points. You can get hit with a sword, 15 times or something on average and then die. But if you substitute the word sword with the word shotgun and you get shot like 10, 15 times, it all breaks down because everybody knows if you get shot with a shotgun, you're fucked. Even if you're still alive, you're not a happy camper. You're not going to be sprinting around.
Hell no.
But for some reason, people's minds are like, I can get hit with a sword 15 times. Like, no, you can't. You're fucked.
You get hit with a sword once and even a flesh wound and you're like barely able to...
Yeah, you'd be lucky to be rolling around on the floor screaming.
People get a hangnail and it rips and I'm like, oh my God, my finger. Oh my God, I gotta sit down. Oh my God. Is that blood? I mean, come on now.
I was trying to give you a card just then when you did that. And I was like, we're not actually playing.
I mean, people don't. It's crazy, and to think that they can get hit with any I'm going to stab you with this 2-inch dagger that can kill you, and I'm going to bleed out now, but thanks. Let alone a sword hacked into your shit 15 times.
Oh Jesus! I still remember the time when I was playing and kind of gave up on level-based games, and it was like. The PCs ambushed some guy. They shot him with a crossbow. He had like 80 hit points. It did like D4+1 as a heavy crossbow, something like that. Not 5e, but they shot him and he took like max damage. And he rode off thinking a mosquito had bit him. And I was like, yeah. And somebody's like, hit points aren't actually how much damage you can take. It's a combination of luck and blah, blah, blah. I was like, why do you need a cleric to heal your luck? And they're like, shut up. But what's your opinion, Chris? Because I haven't altered the cards severely. You've been playing with the card system. For those who don't know, the cards, anytime somebody either does something, basically something the GM likes, could be funny, could be clever, could be figuring out some kind of vital clue, or just making GM laugh or whatever, then they get one or more cards. If they figure out like a really major big plot point, like this last session, Sheila, she had the brain ball. She was figuring shit out like nobody's business. If she wasn't in the game, I would say that it would have quickly ground to a fucking halt. She had the brain ball and pretty much did not relinquish it. And Freddie's on no brainer, so he couldn't have had the brain ball if he wanted it. But like she said or did something really amazingly that carried forward the plot, and I just stuck 4 cards in her hand and then let her try to figure out what to get rid of. What's your opinion on the cards, Chris?
I love the cards. I mean, even with the detrimental ones, it's some extra flavor. It makes it so we can do some things sometimes we normally wouldn't be able to do. It helps us when we're completely stuck. It happens, and to us, to me, it's kind of become a part of the way the things swing. That's what makes us heroic. That's why Could
you describe the cards for somebody who's never seen the cards?
So the cards, there's a lot of cards, and but the basic to them is that you either get a small plus of percentage, since it's a percentage-based skill game. So you get a small plus to your skill, you get a medium size or a large plus, or you get the reroll, basically is what it comes down to. And then everything else, there's different flavors of different cards, like all kinds of different things. Like I could go over the cards for 3 hours. I'm sure that's how many cards there are. And this is by doing things that either, is a good thing, saying something smart, saying something funny, making a good scene, or doing what's approved in combat. You can do things that instead of just hacking the shit out of things, you do something, that is approved actions. And sometimes they're silly, we get those so we can get some extra cards. And, it's meant to be a little silly, it breaks up the combat though. So you don't have to always just, we're in combat, so I'm just going to hackety hack. Well, I might get a card that can help us out later. I'm not the greatest combatant, so why don't I do what's approved? And then you can get a card and then everybody refills their hand say off of that card. So that in its own way is its own strategy in playing. So if you like strategy in the game, and you don't think you're as powerful as some other people, there's other ways to be powerful. There's other ways to support everybody when we're playing. And the cards are definitely one of them. And it just makes it so you can do things that breaks the rules.
I just to put in a quick side note to what you're saying. Yes, with the cards and the approved actions in combat, I've noticed in most of the role-playing games I've ever seen, there's only 2 things that are actually usually good in combat: shoot or move. That's it. With the approved actions, like Chris said, if pretending to be a dragon, for example, or some weird shit or jumping or whatever, falling down, if that's approved, then there's a tactical reason to fall down. I still remember there was some chasing where the PCs were all in the back of a pickup truck, and their PC was driving the pickup truck, and he skids around the corner. I was like, falling down's approved. Everybody in the back of the truck. fell down. I was like, wow, all right, yeah, they're like cards, ding. But yeah, it's so I don't know. I think that I agree with Chris. The cards do seem to add an awful lot of flavor to the game. I'm kind of surprised that more people don't use stuff like that, but I've noticed that for new GMs, like remembering to give out cards and stuff like that is hard. But I also like cards because, like, for example, going back to D&D, not because I hate D&D, but because everybody's familiar with D&D, everybody knows D&D. If somebody does a really good job of role playing, at the end of the session, the PC or the GM might give out like extra couple hundred XP for good role play or something. That kind of seems meaningless. Whereas if you get a card right then it's Logan's approved moves are always useless. Bitching like a SoCal girl is approved. True. There are some silly things in there, Felbrig. I agree. SoCal girl. Yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. Oh, I hate you all so much. Yeah, that's true.
It does add some, it makes it funny though. Like sometimes you need it needs to be a little funny. It gets a little bit too serious and that breaks it up. Is it always, because that's why sometimes I don't do the approved ones unless I really need some fucking cards. But see, that also, like, okay, so that's when we go to strategy now. Like, okay, we're getting our ass kicked. I need some cards to help everybody. So then I'll do some silly shit to, and then that's our version of strategy now.
Well, it also, I've noticed that the cards sometimes can really make a scene. Like, for example, like if Intimidation's approved and Doc needs a card, and he just, and he fucking looks at somebody and just, and they're like fire in his eyes, and it's like the bad guy's like, well, fuck me, and sometimes just off of that, it can take the entire scene in a new direction.
True.
But, and I don't know, just in a lot of games, the combat's pretty stale. It's like if you have a hammer, everything's a nail. Like I heard somebody bitching about the Warlock. I still remember when I was at the John guy's place, and one of the guys had min-maxed the shit out of his character, and he could essentially do a pretty decent amount of damage every round, but that was his pretty much a one-trick pony. He had other things he could do, but never did because there's never any need to. So he just zat, 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 and I'm like, yeah, you were as boring as fucking toast. And that could happen with some of the spells in this game and stuff, but it's because you set yourself up to get those spells. You worked your ass off to get up to the spell where you just, like my character Lumsey, his best thing is he can throw D8 healing all day. And if somebody's wounded, that's all I'm doing because I know how to play a fucking healer. And plus I haven't got the magic points to pull off anything else. So yeah, once I get that going, I just I will hit you eventually. And it's funny because Freddy's like, I fall down and lay on the floor. I'm like, I'm at a plus 30. I can hit you. I'm gonna hit you now.
It's like watching Oleander heal.
Poor Dave. Oh Jesus. Jason Felbrig, you got something else for us to talk about? Chris, do you got something you want to talk about? Are you running out of time? How are you doing on time?
I'm doing all right on time. I might run out soon, but
I was looking for fucking Justin because I'd like to get him on there, but
it's been like over an hour since he said he was gonna.
Yeah, I don't know what's up. There's some in our Facebook message. Yeah, I don't know how long the commute is, or maybe he fucking got so excited to be on this they drove into a fucking gas truck and explode. I don't know. I hope not. All right, here we go. Here's something from Jay. I'll let you read this one, Chris.
What are your thoughts on recruiting NPCs as retainers and henchmen?
Night, Felbrig. You got any thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, see, I've done it a couple times. Well, I kind of had to a couple times. I was doing a lot of solo or duo gaming, so that's when I had a couple NPCs that I would hang out with me all the time. I cannot think of his name right now. That's how awful I feel about that one. Holy shit.
Wait, are you talking about the guy who would always get you the extra towels?
No.
Or was that no?
The last I saw of him, he had left and was probably somewhere in present day New Orleans.
The guy with chainsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a damn good NPC though. I still remember the best story about that guy was Muldoon goes into a tent, and that the NPC whose name I can't remember right now had gone a little bit crazy, not completely crazy, but a little bit crazy in the previous game, and he got into voodoo big time, and so he had in his part of the tent, because it was like split in two parts. He had a fucking voodoo altar set up, and Muldoon goes in there and he's praying at his voodoo altar, and Muldoon's like, I pretend to go to sleep. And I was like, okay, no problem. Yeah, you completely fool that guy. He thinks you're asleep. And he's like, what does he do? He prays his voodoo altar for a while, and then he gets into his sleeping bag and goes to sleep. And he's like, is he asleep? Oh yeah, pretty goddamn sure he's asleep. What do you do? He's like, creep out of my sleeping bag, and I go over, and I was like, yeah. And I jump on him and start beating this shit up. I was like, okay. And so the combat rounds go on, and this guy manages to fucking get out of his sleeping bag because Muldoon fought for shit. And he manages to get out of the tent, and he's screaming and yelling, and everybody gets up, and Doc's like, what's going on? What's going on? And the guy's like, this guy's beating the shit out of me. And Doc's like, why'd you beat him up? And Muldoon's like, he was doing the voodoo. He's like, you were doing the voodoo? He's like, I was praying at my voodoo altar. And Doc's like, this is not illegal. Did he cast any spells? He might have, says Muldoon. Doc's like, you sleep in the murder tent. And so Muldoon goes over, and there's a big tent, and half of it's like got blood and viscera, like somebody fucking exploded in the air, half's clean. And Muldoon's like, I sleep in the clean part. And oh yeah, I will tell that in a second, Jake. Thank you for reminding me. And so then Muldoon's sleeping in the clean part. And about midnight, Porter, that's his name. Porter. He was even in this recent campaign.
Yeah.
And so Muldoon's sleeping in the clean part, and it's about like midnight, 2 a.m, some shit here, and this fucking chainsaw comes through the tent, and it makes a fucking hole, and the canvas flops open, and he looks out and he sees this Porter dude, and half his face is painted black, half his face is painted white, and he's got the fucking top hat on, and he's dressed like Papa Legba, and he's got like the jacket on with no shirt, and he's like, ah, ha, 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 and the fucking giant full moon behind him, and the guy who played Muldoon froze. And he's staring at me with like, and I was like, and we go into combat. Round 1. Villains are first and set back. Blah, blah, blah. And so Muldoon's chainsaw goes, Muldoon goes, looks at it, or Porter tries his chainsaw and looks at Muldoon. He goes, and he wanders off. And Muldoon's like, I was like, what do you do? And the player is frozen. He's just staring at him like, and he's looking at me like I just fucking pulled out my dick and started slapping him around or something. He's just frozen in fear or confusion or whatever. So this guy, the Porter guy, wanders off. And then throughout the rest of that fucking game, he would look over and he'd see Porter sitting there reading. He's like, what's he reading? Chainsaw Repair and Maintenance. And he'd look up and go, go back to read. Porter was terrified, or Muldoon was terrified of this motherfucker. And Chris is like, don't fuck with him. He's my guy. And Muldoon's like, but I'm the PC. And he's like, I remember Doc's like, I like him better. And Muldoon's like, and Doc's like, you ever go for a walk in the swamp, Muldoon? Yeah, fuck with him, you might. Once. I still remember that. Oh, okay. The story of Dubar and the purple sails. A long time ago, there's a guy named Mike Schobert who I know Chris remembers meeting that dude. Nice guy. It was during my military days of gaming, and he was the merchant dude. He was a lot like Razzlin' Rad, except less colorful. He was more like a low-key merchant guy. And what happened was the players would get a lot of non-coin shit, and they go, we have all this stuff. We have like pottery and some fucking pillars and miscellaneous shit. And the Dubar guy, he'd go, I can sell that for you. How much do you think you'd get for it? And they'd be like, they'd figure out their appraisal. They'd be like, we think we can get 1,000 for it. And he'll be like, I get you more. So he would go and get them 1,200 for it. And they're like, whoa, you got us 1,200. In reality, he sold it for 2,000 because he was really fucking good at bargain. And he'd give him 1,200 and keep the other 800. He didn't tell him about this. And so he kept doing that. And eventually the players became suspicious when he began buying city blocks. And so he ended up buying like a lot of various different cities and shit. And the players were like, hey, are you ripping us off? And he's like, no, I wanted to get a clubhouse for you guys. This is your building. He had all this other shit going and everything, you know, all these other interests and stuff going, and he was finding ways to make his money work for him and all this other bullshit. But players like, oh, thanks. But that's what he did. And then later, after I'd left the military and went on to air groups, he became an NPC, and he got so rich that in the medieval days, purple was the hardest color to make. In order to make purple, you had to crush a snail, and you make a little smear of purple. It was a certain kind of snail. And so then when you saw somebody wearing purple, it's like, this motherfucker's rich. And so he had purple sails on a ship to show just how rich he was. And so he became Dubar of the purple sails. And that's his story. There you go, Jay. So in other words, you can still do right by the other players by making them a little bit more money than they thought, but they are often not forward-looking enough to know how to spend their own money. Hence, you can do it for them and stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, it is a good character. I mean, considering I was only in Germany for like a couple, like 2.5 years or some shit, I got a lot of gaming done, which doesn't speak well of my military career, but by God, I got a lot of gaming done. I was only in Korea for a year, and that's where I first learned about Call of Cthulhu and stuff. You described how wrestling has made his money so far. Good. Yeah, you're just now starting off on your financial stuff and all that. So, yeah. I don't know. I've been telling Jay Chris that he's got a harder road to hoe because he doesn't play often, and he wants to do a lot of the backfilling and stuff like that. He's basically wanting to get everybody financially solvent, get all the zones so that the PCs don't have to worry about money, which Could have been done a long time ago, but most of the PCs are like, da, 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 da. Is there somebody else needs killing? Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like, because that's just
PCs.
Yeah, well, I've tried a couple times, but I just don't have the skills to make the money. So even if I come up with a good idea, it just kind of falls on its face. So,
well, I think in like the case of the White Dove, aka Black Dove, aka Golden Waddle, aka it has like 3 or 4 more names. I think it was Pete that ended up financing it, and he just turned it over to Wrestling and said, "Make it work." And so far, I've only had one minor plot that Wrestling was like, "So it's haunted?" And the guy's like, "Yes, you're haunted." And Wrestling's like, "I know you're full of shit, but all the workers believe it, and I'm not sure if you're full of shit or not, but I'm pretty sure you're full of shit. I'll just pay you and fucking make this problem go away." The guy's like, "I will make it less haunted." And apparently he did, and everybody's happy. And Jay's like, "Okay, I'm pretty sure he's full of shit, though. Not sure what to do about that, but by God, he's gone, and everybody's happy, so I guess I win."
Definitely winning the money game for, no one else is. That's for damn sure, no matter how much they've tried, which I think is why I'm just so over the whole Spice Cartel, because they've been trying so fucking hard, and that's like they've dedicated days of gaming to this and nothing.
Well, I would like to point out there's a big difference between what Wrestling, aka Jason, is doing, and because he's working on trying to get income that just deals with itself versus what I call an idiot with a backpack of treasure.
True.
Because if you're at that level, then it's always, "Okay, Logan, I'm going to do several different hops with my backpack full of shit in order to make money." And that's always going to take a lot of game time. Whereas, like, for example, Jay bought like the ammunitions thing that you know about, and that makes X amount per season. So for a couple seasons, few seasons, he's not going to see any money. He's still making it back, but eventually, assuming the PCs don't blow it up, it will start to make money. Now, there may be plots from time to time like, "Oh, Billy's sick. Oh, Billy needs herbs." And Jay will go, "Do I give a shit about Billy? Is Billy integral to this, or can I replace Billy?" So there'll be shit for him to figure out. But generally speaking, it kind of deals with itself, or if Jay goes, "I need more money. I think I'm going to get the PCs to start a war in that zone so that we can make more ammo." Whatever. Well, that was the most evil thing I'd ever heard about in Nero, Chris, is the brood things, the alien fuckers.
Yeah.
I think it was a bunch of dwarves that smuggled them in. Like they infested people and had them come in and then released them because anytime you'd hit them with a weapon, the weapon would dissolve, and they wanted to sell more weapons. That's just kind of fucking evil there.
Yeah, oh, definitely. That's crazy evil.
They sold a lot of fucking weapons though. You okay?
Yeah, it's been sitting for a bit.
Well, it's looking like Justin may have either crashed and died, which would be unfortunate, or he hit the BBD somewhere.
He probably got home and his girlfriend was like, "Hey, blah, blah, blah," and that's the end of the story, which I get.
All right. You got anything else to talk about, or should we end it?
I think we should end it since no one else is really popping in or anything, and I'm getting... Wait, what was that?
No, that's the same thing. I was trying to clear the thing. All right. Well, if you've watched this much of it, thank you very much. And Chris, do you have anything to say to the studio audience, i.e. Jay?
Bye, Jay. Thank you for backfilling us and making us money.
Mm-hmm. Have a good night, Jay, and anybody else who watches this.